Hi everyone, welcome back to Rich's Garage. I've been working on the 71 Charger, and it doesn't look like I have a lot done, but I've spent a fair amount of time working on it. So I just wanted to show you some things about the kit. It's kind of like a paradox. There's some things that you're like, wow, that's great, and some things you scratch your head a little bit. But let's get started. On the body, right here above this C-pillar there was mold lines, but there was also a little bit of a void. So I wound up having to fill in that and sand it. I filled in where the dome light and the mirror dimples were, cut out the brace that they had in here for when they molded it. So this is just about ready for primer. I'll prime this and then see if I have to do any more work here. But the body's ready to go. I just scuffed it a little bit to help the primer, and like I said, this is ready to go. The floor pan has a lot of detail in here, so I'm looking forward to seeing how much detail painting I can do on this, but I think they did a nice job with the floor pan. The exhaust is ready. There was just a little bit of sanding on the exhaust, on the mid pipe and the muffler. The tips, this piece hooks into the muffler, actually goes this way, had a lot of flash. These two pieces had the most flash. They wanted a separate sprue, so it was a fair amount to clean up on these. I actually just had to wind up scraping a bunch of the plastic off of it. There was so much, but that's all ready to go. So let's talk about some of the oddities. I put together the leaf springs and the rear. When you put the halves on, they don't quite reach the housing, at least on this kit. And so I wound up filling, and then using the filler to try and recreate the missing piece of hard brake line. So I think that'll see what the primer if it even shows up. But that's what that is there. The other really strange thing to me, and maybe I didn't have to fill it, but I thought you might be able to see it when the model's together, is this is a channel in the leaf spring. It's not cast all the way through. Maybe they did it to save plastic, I don't know, but basically it's almost the depth of the spring height that this void is, and almost as wide. So it took several applications to fill that in and sand it. So I'll prime over that as well. It just seemed a little odd because when this sits under the car, I think you're going to be able to, if you're looking at it at the right angle, you'll see the top of the leaves, and there was a big void in there. So wasn't excited about that. So I went ahead and filled that in and sand. We got that. The block the main block is pretty much together. I drilled holes for the spark plugs. I'm gonna have to prime this. I had to do some filler work on this as well. There was some, like on the trans case, there was a little bit of a void. I sanded the mold lines and stuff. So there's a little bit of, like I said, light putty work on this, but it looks great. I mean, I like the detail on the block, and then all the accessories are really well detailed. You see here where the trans was, I had to, it was a little bit of a void there. I filled that in. So getting ready to prime the engine. At the firewall ready to prime. These are parts that are going to be body color, so I got to do that. A couple of, and I think I understand why they did it, but it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to deal with, and I'll show you. If you look at how this bucket, the rear seat, it's a very thick sprue connection, and they did this on several parts. I wound up using a photo etch saw blade to cut through this. This way I can just kind of rest it against the body part and lightly cut, and then just lightly sand what's left. I didn't want to use cutters and wind up maybe chipping this or deforming it, so that's how I've been cutting it. But a couple of the pieces So here's the seat, for instance. This is I think it's the lower half, the upper half or the lower half, the K member. But you see how you have to go along the body line to, or the part line to cut that. So it takes a little bit. I wouldn't want to go in there and try and cut that. I'm being afraid of stressing the part itself. Now, the one place where that really showed up to me as a deficiency is for the hood. Right here is connected on a sprue with something of the order of magnitude of this. And so I sawed it off, used the photo etch saw blade, and then I realized that it felt like there was a flat spot there. So, interesting enough, I looked at the Boxart, and I'm going to get this as close as I can here. Let's see if I can change the angle a little bit. Well, don't know exactly if you can see it, but if you see this box somewhere and you get to look at it, you can see two things that jump out at you. One, the hood isn't sitting flat. Two, if you follow with your eye the stripe, you actually see the stripe transition down and transition up. The flat spot's on this hood as well. So that's just a function of how they cast the part. I'm just going to get a little... Again, you may not be able to see it so well on the camera. We'll see how it comes up when I load this. But I noticed that, and then what I wound up doing is several applications to fill this to basically recreate the arch, because what it does is drop down and came up. So I got that. I think it's going to be pretty good. The primer will tell me for sure if I got this right or not. But one other problem with this is how the hood fits, because there's a low spot here, but there's a high spot in this. If you run your finger, my finger actually raises up here and then it goes back down. I tried to take a little bit off. I'm a little bit afraid of coming down too much and making this really thin and just cracking through the filler that I put in. But I think I'm going to have to do some more. And the reason being is that high spot rests on the wipers and it pulls up the corners of the hood. So let me put this on here. Alright, so if you look, well, that corner looks kind of familiar to the box. Right, so it's raised up, and I think what the problem is it's high here, which is raising the hood. So I got some more work to get that sorted out, but you can see how it pulls up that hood in the corners just a little bit. I did a little bit more sanding. It was a little bit higher, but I did some sanding. I'll come in again and just try and lightly take some more down. But it's a pronounced bump right there, and that's what I believe is hitting right here. And you can't sand on the cowl because you'll lose all that detail. So, they probably had to have it that big just to get all the to get enough plastic to flow to under enough pressure to get all the detail out. This hood had about, I think it was like 8 injector marks. It was 4 about here, 2 in here, and then 2 out here. But I got them all cleaned off. So that is the hood. That's the biggest challenge right now, I think, to getting sorted out. There's a lot of little detail parts and a lot of great detail. That's going to require some painting and stuff by hand and taking my time. For instance, the dash. We got the wood grain that goes in here. Got the wood grain for the dash panel. The pedals got some good detail. So it's. I think I really didn't have to clean up much on this at all. There's a little bit of flash on the pedals, but the detail on the kit is great. It's just one of those things. Planning out the steps to maximize the airbrushing and stuff like that. It's a little bit of a challenge, but let me show you a couple things I masked. These are the door panels, and the centerpiece is wood grain. So all I do is I mask that, and using a there's the trim line, that little chrome trim that goes there. This tape was wider than that, but basically with a brand new straight edge razor blade, I just kind of use my fingernail to get it to set, and then with a brand new blade just cut along that, use it as a guideline, and that's masked. I have to do the other side as well, so you see what that looks like. And that's what I typically do. You know, I bought a box of 100 of these, and then when I feel that the edges aren't sharp enough to do fine cutting when I really need it, then I just throw them in a little old pill bottle, and you know, the center portion of the blades is still sharp, so they're good for cutting and things like that. In this kit, it calls for that these are cloth inserts. So I went online and I looked, and I found some 71 RTs that had this cloth insert. I don't know if it's I've never seen one of these in person, so I don't know what the interiors really looked like except for what's online. And I found two cars that looked like they had black with a lightish gray, light gray material inserts. So what I did was, and the rest of them, the majority of them just look like they're either full vinyl or full leather. So I don't know if they're recovered or what, or if this was an option. But these seats definitely match the insert style that I saw online. So what I did is I used 3M masking tape because I just find it easier to work with, and then just using the lines that are cast in the seat, you know, again with a sharp blade, lightly going over it until I started to cut through the paper of the tape, and I got that masked. So I have still more to do. You know, it takes for me at least a fair amount of time, but I prefer to use this tape. It's probably about, I don't know, 15-20 minutes just to do one seat. So I have this to do. I have the rear seats to do these inserts. But what I'm going to do is paint it, I think, like a dark charcoal, maybe. More of a charcoal gray with the black. I think that'll look good. So that's what I got going on with that. So all in all, I'm right now at the part where I'm going to you know, prime the car, the floor pan, the hood, the engine, the other body parts here. I have some masking to do to finish for the door panel, the seats, and in here where the wood grain goes on the dash, and then I'll spray paint these black. I'm going to primer these because I have so much filler on here. I have to prime that instead of just painting it black. So that's where I'm at. Just wanted to go over the kit. Like I said, the main thing is this hood is pretty interesting. So we'll see how this comes out. Alright, until next time. See you.